For decades, Albania's greatest export was not oil, minerals, or manufactured goods. It was its own people. They left by boat, by bus, by plane, and sometimes on foot. They crossed borders, carrying small bags, family photographs, and hopes for a future they could not find at home. Some were searching for work. Some wanted safety and stability. Others wanted an education, a career, or simply the freedom to choose their own future. For millions of Albanians, leaving was not a rejection of their homeland. It was a decision shaped by necessity. But today, a new and unexpected story is beginning to emerge. After decades of migration, some Albanians are returning. Professionals who built careers in Italy, Greece, Germany, the United Kingdom, the United States, and other countries are bringing home new skills, international experience, investment, and ideas. Entrepreneurs are opening businesses. Remote workers are choosing Albania as a place to live and work. Families are reconnecting with their language, culture, and communities. And a younger generation is beginning to ask a question that would have sounded almost impossible only a few decades ago. Could Albania become a place to build a future, not just a place to leave behind? This is the story of the Great Albanian Diaspora. Why millions left, what they built abroad, what their departure cost the country, and why, for some, the road home is becoming part of Albania's next chapter. To understand why so many Albanians left, we must first understand the country they were leaving. For much of the 20th century, Albania was one of Europe's most isolated nations. Under communist rule, the country became increasingly separated from much of the outside world. Travel was heavily restricted, foreign influence was limited, and ordinary citizens had little opportunity to experience life beyond Albania's borders. For many people, the world outside the country became something distant, known through stories, radio broadcasts, rare images, and imagination. Beyond the mountains and the sea were cities that seemed full of opportunity. Italy, Greece, Germany, France, Britain, America. These places represented more than geography. They represented freedom, prosperity, education, and possibilities that many Albanians could only dream about. Meanwhile, Albania developed behind closed borders. The country's landscape became filled with thousands of concrete bunkers, built during an era of fear and isolation. Many still remain today, silent reminders of a time when Albania prepared for threats that never arrived. But beneath the surface, another pressure was growing. People wanted change. They wanted access to the wider world. They wanted the freedom to travel, work, and decide what their lives could become. When the communist system began to collapse, Albania entered a period of dramatic political and economic transformation. The borders opened, and suddenly, millions of people could see a path that had been closed to them for generations. For many, that path led out of the country. The fall of communism brought hope, but it also brought uncertainty. The transition to a new political and economic system was difficult. Many industries struggled, jobs disappeared, wages were low, and families faced an uncertain future. For people who had spent decades living in isolation, the opening of the borders created an opportunity that could not be ignored. They left in enormous numbers. Some traveled legally. Others crossed borders without documents. Some boarded overcrowded ships and sailed across the Adriatic Sea toward Italy. The images became some of the most powerful symbols of Albania's modern history. Thousands of people packed onto aging vessels, standing shoulder to shoulder, looking toward a future they could not see. For those on board, the journey was dangerous. But staying behind often felt dangerous in a different way. Many people were not leaving because they hated Albania. They were leaving because they wanted to support their families. They wanted jobs. They wanted stability. They wanted their children to have opportunities that had never existed for them. Leaving became an act of survival. But it was also an act of courage. Families made painful decisions. Parents left children behind with grandparents. Young adults said goodbye to friends without knowing when they would return. Entire villages watched their youngest and most ambitious residents disappear toward distant cities and foreign countries. For many Albanians, migration was not a temporary adventure. It became a way of life. And over time, Albania developed one of Europe's largest diaspora communities, relative to the size of its population. The country's people spread across continents. But even when they built new lives abroad, Albania remained connected to them. Through family, through language, through food, through memories, and through the money they sent home. For many families, the Albanian diaspora became an economic lifeline. People working abroad sent money back to parents, children, siblings, and relatives. These funds helped families pay for food, education, healthcare, housing, and everyday needs. In towns and villages across Albania, new homes were built with money earned in foreign cities. A construction worker in Greece might support relatives in southern Albania. A restaurant owner in Italy might help pay for a younger sibling's education. A family in Germany might invest in a home or small business back home. The money traveled across borders. But so did ideas. Albanians living abroad experienced different education systems, workplaces, technologies, and business cultures. They learned new languages. They developed professional skills. They built international networks. Many became successful in fields that had been difficult to enter inside Albania. Doctors, engineers, architects, technology specialists, researchers, artists, business owners, and entrepreneurs. The diaspora was no longer only a group of people who had left. It had become a global network, a second Albania spread across the world. But while migration brought opportunity, it also created a painful absence. The country was losing many of its young people, and the consequences could be seen everywhere. Migration changed Albania's population. In many villages, homes became quiet. Schools had fewer students. Shops lost customers. Fields were left unattended. Older residents remained, while younger generations moved abroad. Some communities experienced a slow and painful transformation. The people who had once filled the streets were now living in Milan, Athens, London, New York, Munich, or other cities far from home. Families became divided by borders. A child might grow up with one parent abroad. A grandmother might care for grandchildren while their parents worked in another country. Holidays became the only time when families could gather again. For many people, migration created a life lived between two places. Home was where they lived, but home was also where they came from. At the same time, Albania faced another challenge: the loss of skilled workers. Doctors left for better salaries. Engineers searched for larger opportunities. Graduates looked abroad because they believed their ambitions could not be fulfilled at home. This became known as brain drain. A country could invest in educating its young people, only to see many of them build their careers somewhere else. The question became increasingly difficult. How can a country grow when so many of its most educated and ambitious citizens believe their future lies abroad. But migration was never a simple story of loss. The people who left did not disappear. They remained connected. And over time, some began to see Albania differently, not only as the country they escaped, but as a country where new opportunities might be possible. Today, Albanian communities can be found across Europe, North America, and beyond. In many cities, Albanian businesses have become part of the local economy. Restaurants serve traditional food. Construction companies employ thousands of workers. Professionals contribute to medicine, technology, education, finance, and engineering. Artists and athletes represent Albanian identity on international stages. Children born abroad grow up speaking more than one language. They may attend school in another country, but hear Albanian spoken at home. They learn family stories about villages they have never seen. They celebrate traditions passed down from parents and grandparents. For some, Albania becomes a place they visit every summer. For others, it becomes an emotional connection, built through photographs, music, food, and stories. But something interesting begins to happen when people spend years living abroad. They compare. They see what works in other countries. They understand the strengths and weaknesses of both places. And sometimes, the idea of returning becomes more powerful. Not because life abroad failed, but because success changed what they wanted. After years of working in crowded cities, some people began to value family closeness. After paying high housing costs, some began to imagine a different lifestyle. After building careers abroad, some wanted to use their experience to create opportunities in Albania. The dream was changing. For one generation, success meant leaving. For another, success could mean having the freedom to choose where home would be. For decades, Albania was known as a country people left. But now, a quieter movement is beginning to attract attention. Some members of the diaspora are returning. Not everyone, not all at once, and not always permanently. But enough people are coming back to create new conversations about Albania's future. Some return to open businesses. Others return to care for family members. Some work remotely for international companies while living in Tirana or along the coast. Others divide their time between Albania and another country. A professional may spend part of the year in London and part in Tirana. An entrepreneur may operate a business abroad while investing in Albania. A family may raise children in Albania while maintaining careers and connections overseas. The idea of migration is becoming more flexible. Leaving no longer has to mean leaving forever. Returning does not always mean closing the door on the rest of the world. For many people, Albania and another country are both part of their lives. This is not a complete reversal of migration. Many Albanians continue to leave every year, but the story is becoming more complicated. People are leaving. People are returning. People are investing from abroad. People are working internationally while living in Albania. The country is connected to the world in ways that were almost impossible during its years of isolation. And this global connection may become one of Albania's greatest strengths. In Tirana, the changes are visible. New buildings rise above the city. Construction cranes reshape the skyline. Modern cafes are filled with young professionals. Technology companies are growing. Restaurants, hotels, and creative businesses are opening. The city feels more connected to the world. Visitors arrive from across Europe and beyond. Some come for the country's beaches. Others come for its mountains, history, food, and culture. Tourism has introduced Albania to people who once knew almost nothing about it. Social media has accelerated the change. Videos of turquoise water, dramatic coastlines, historic towns, and modern city life have reached millions of viewers. Places that were once unknown outside the region are now appearing on travel lists around the world. But Albania's transformation is not limited to tourism. New businesses are creating opportunities. Digital work is changing where people can live. International connections are becoming easier. And members of the diaspora are bringing knowledge and investment back home. Some return with business experience. Some bring new technologies. Some introduce ideas they learned abroad. Others simply want to build something in the country where their families began. But growth also creates new challenges. Modern buildings do not automatically mean that everyone benefits. Rapid development can increase housing costs. Tourism can place pressure on communities and the environment. Opportunities may be concentrated in major cities, while smaller towns continue to lose people. The new Albania is full of possibility, but its future will depend on how those possibilities are shared. For decades, Western Europe and North America represented the ultimate destination. They offered higher salaries, stronger economies, and more opportunities. For many Albanians, those opportunities remain important. But life abroad is not always easy. Major cities can be expensive. Housing costs can consume a large part of a person's income. Work can be demanding. Immigration systems can be complicated. And living far from family can create a loneliness that money does not always solve. Some people spend years building successful careers, but still feel disconnected from the place they call home. They miss family gatherings. They miss familiar food. They miss speaking their language every day. They miss the feeling of belonging without having to explain who they are. At the same time, technology is changing the meaning of work. A person no longer needs to live in the same country as their employer. Remote work allows some professionals to earn internationally while living in Albania. This creates a new possibility. Instead of choosing between a career abroad and a life at home, some people can combine both. They can work for companies in other countries while living near family. They can use international income while enjoying a lower cost of living. They can remain connected to global opportunities without being permanently separated from Albania. For some, this is not a return to the past. It is a new model for the future. But Albania's story is not a simple success story. The country still faces serious challenges. Many people continue to leave because they cannot find enough opportunities at home. Wages in some sectors remain low. Young professionals may struggle to build careers. Public services face pressure. Healthcare and education remain major concerns for many families. Housing is becoming more expensive in some areas. Economic opportunities are not distributed equally. While Tirana grows rapidly, some smaller communities continue to lose residents. For many young Albanians, the question is still the same. Should I stay and build something here? Or should I leave and search for a better future somewhere else? The answer depends on education, employment, family, income, personal goals, and opportunity. Some people return and succeed. Others return but later leave again. Some dream of coming home, but cannot find the right conditions. Others never plan to return, but eventually change their minds. The truth is more complicated than a simple story of departure or return. Albania is experiencing two powerful movements at the same time. People continue to leave in search of opportunity, and others are returning to create opportunity. The future will depend on whether the country can turn the experience of its global diaspora into long-term development. The Albanian diaspora has something valuable: experience, knowledge, investment, international connections. People who have lived abroad understand how other systems work. They have seen different approaches to business, education, technology, healthcare, and public services. If these ideas can be connected to local communities, they may help create new opportunities. An entrepreneur returning from Germany may introduce a new business model. A technology professional from the United States may create jobs for young Albanians. A doctor trained abroad may bring new expertise to the healthcare system. A family living in Italy may invest in tourism or agriculture. A second-generation Albanian may visit the country of their parents and decide to build a future there. The diaspora can become a bridge between Albania and the world. But for this to succeed, returning must become more than an emotional decision. People need reliable opportunities. They need functioning institutions. They need access to education, healthcare, infrastructure, and fair business conditions. Patriotism alone cannot build an economy. Love for a country must be supported by real possibilities. The challenge is not only to encourage people to return, it is to create a country where people can stay. Perhaps Albania is no longer defined only by the land inside its borders. Millions of people with Albanian roots live abroad. They speak different languages. They work in different industries. They live under different governments. But many remain connected through family, culture, identity, and shared history. Technology has made those connections stronger. A family can speak across continents in seconds. A business can operate in several countries. A young Albanian abroad can watch videos from Tirana every day. A person living in Albania can work for a company on another continent. The distance between Albania and its diaspora is no longer measured only in kilometers. It is measured by connection. And perhaps the country did not lose its people completely. Perhaps it created a global network. A network that can bring new ideas home. A network that can connect Albanian businesses to international markets. A network that can help future generations see Albania not as a country at the edge of Europe, but as a country connected to the entire world. Will more Albanians come back? No one can know for certain. Some will continue to leave. Some will return. Some will live between two countries. Some will invest without moving home. And others will remain abroad while keeping Albania close through family and culture. The future may not be a mass return. It may be something more complex. A circulation of people, skills, ideas, and investment. People may leave to study, work abroad, gain experience, build careers, then return for a few years, or permanently. Others may stay abroad, but support businesses and communities in Albania. The goal may not be to stop migration completely. Migration has given many Albanians opportunities they might never have found at home. The greater challenge is creating a country where leaving is a choice, not a necessity. A country where young people can succeed without feeling that they must move abroad. A country where returning professionals can build businesses. A country where families can imagine a stable future. A country where opportunity reaches beyond the capital and the tourist coast. If Albania can create those conditions, the relationship between the country and its diaspora may become one of its greatest advantages. For decades, Albania's greatest export was its people. They crossed seas. They crossed borders. They built new lives in unfamiliar places. They worked difficult jobs. They raised families far from home. They carried their language and traditions across the world. Some never returned. Some returned only during the summer. Some sent money home for decades. Some built successful lives abroad. And now, a new chapter is beginning. Not a sudden mass return, not a perfect transformation, but a quiet reversal. Professionals are bringing home new skills. Entrepreneurs are creating businesses. Families are reconnecting with their roots. Young people are discovering opportunities their parents never had. And a new generation is beginning to see Albania differently, not only as the place their parents left, but as a place where they may choose to build a future. The story of Albania is no longer only about why people leave. It is also about what brings them back. Because home is not always the place where a journey begins. Sometimes, after years of searching, learning, and building a life somewhere else, home becomes the place where the next journey begins.